Hello everyone, this is Akshay from QA InfoTech, anchoring today's webinar and supporting the event logistically. On behalf of QA InfoTech, I would like to thank and welcome you all to this web event on applying manual and automated methodologies in accessibility testing. The agenda for today's webinar is to discuss how to arrive at the right balance between manual and automated testing techniques for software accessibility. Please join Ajay, our accessibility consultant, along with Rohan, our senior accessibility consultant, also visually challenged, as they discuss a unique paired testing approach that we use at QA InfoTech, an objective tool that we have built to understand an application's accessibility score, how to maximize accessibility test coverage, along with examples that are representative of these various points touched upon. Please feel free to send your questions to us anytime during the web event using the questions tab on GoToWebinar platform. At the end of this session, we will try to answer all the questions received during this web event. All participants are on mute at this time. Over to Ajay and Rohan now.
Thank you, Akshay, and hello everyone. Today we both are here to discuss about an important topic related to accessibility. Based on our analysis and work experience, it is worth mentioning that both manual and automated testing methodologies complement each other when it comes to accessibility. We have compiled few examples which can prove that 100% test coverage can be achieved in the area of accessibility if manual efforts are combined with the implementation of automated testing tools. In addition to that, we will underline the significance of pair testing approach, which is a unique testing approach that we follow at QA InfoTech. Of course, both the testing techniques have a wide range of advantages and disadvantages. So let me quickly give you a walkthrough of the agenda for today's webinar. We'll be giving you a quick introduction to accessibility and worldwide accessibility standards. Then we will be discussing ideal testing approach. We will also discuss about the web accessibility evaluation tools and their pitfalls. Then comes the unique peer testing approach that we follow. I will also provide you the highlights of our internal checklist, the qualitometer, followed by the examples to highlight the importance of both the methodologies, and finally, the key takeaways. For those who are not aware that what accessibility is about, I have my colleague Rohan, who will outline the essence of accessibility.
Hello everyone. In real sense, accessibility is to ensure that the products, services, physical spaces are accessible for everyone, including people with diverse disabilities. Hence, it becomes the responsibility of company owners, architects, developers, designers, and product manufacturers to ensure that their product or service is accessible and people are able to use them equally. In today's time, when digital sphere has been accessed by people with different disabilities, consequently, it is imperative to confirm that all the web applications and the mobile applications are equally accessible, and people with different disabilities, be it visual impairment or hearing impairment or cognitive disability, are able to use the features without any barrier. But often people do get confused between accessibility and usability. However, accessibility is a subset of usability, whereas usability is directly linked with the features of an application wherein people can use the application without any obstruction. In other words, usability is also how a person can easily and efficiently use the features of an application and thereby obtain complete satisfaction. But is there any process about accessibility? Is there any guidelines which can be implemented to actually initiate this process? Yes, W3C, the World Wide Web Consortium, is an international body established on the internet, has actually formulated all the web content guidelines, which are primarily used by developers and accessibility experts to ensure that all the standards are met in order to make the website or a web application accessible. The W3C has given out these guidelines on their website. The Web Content Accessibility Guidelines is actually based on the 4 principles. Perceivable. In order to ensure that the content of the information which is presented should be perceived well by the users. Operable. All the user elements or the controls which are present in an application must be presented in a way so that people can operate it without any challenge. Understandable. The information, it could be the textual information or a multimedia information, should be made accessible so that people can understand in a better way. Robust. The last element is to make sure that the web application is robust enough and it matches up to the compatibility support of the current technology. Apart from this, there are compliance related to Section 508. Basically, Section 508 is an integral part of the Rehabilitation Act in the United States, wherein the federal agencies and the departments need to ensure that their digital content is actually accessible for people with disabilities. But what are the tools which are used, or what is the correct approach which can be used here? For that, I would ask Ajay to continue.
Thank you, Rohan. Well, it is never recommended to randomly look for the accessibility defects in an application. There are different approaches to reveal the critical defects by initially manually inspecting the features, followed by using automated tools like Axe or Wave. It has been observed that an automated tool is applied to review the code and manual testing is executed to validate whether the features are accessible or not. Although manual testing can be complex and time-consuming, yet the entire procedure is beneficial in revealing the challenges faced by the people with disabilities, and also to make the application truly usable for them. Accessibility testing should involve a combination of automated tests and manual evaluation in order to assess the technical and functional accessibility of a website. For example, an automated tool or an automated script can easily identify if there is a missing alternative text for an image or not. However, the context of an alternative text can only be evaluated by a manual engineer. In order to perform accessibility testing and to reveal the defects in a website or a web application, there are various tools which can be used by an accessibility expert, ranging from automated tools like Axe or Wave, or to assistive tools like screen readers, screen magnifier, or simply by making use of a keyboard. The noteworthy point is to choose the right set of tools which are reliable as well as they are user-friendly. Also, there has to be a proper strategy in executing the test so that there is a very less chance of skipping any major defect or duplication of the defect in the defect tracking tool. Let me give you an overview about the tools that are widely used. First of all, to talk about the manual and assistive tools, we need to first understand that accessibility engineers leverages the assistive tools in order to perform accessibility testing. We have screen readers like JAWS, NVDA, and Windows IE on the Windows platform, and we have TalkBack for Android devices. Also, we have VoiceOver for iOS and Mac devices. Then comes the screen magnification, where the screen magnifiers like zoom text, which can be very helpful for testing the application for low vision users. We also have keyboard, which is an essential part of a operation. Then it can be used in an assistive tool as well for the people who are having low vision or are motorically impaired. Color contrast analyzer is another tool, which is a manual tool and is used by an engineer to determine the color contrast ratio between the foreground and the background. And by this, we can get the color deficient issues very easily. Browser zoom and high contrast settings are also the functionalities provided within the browsers and OS and can be used to test an application for the people who are suffering with low vision disability. Then there is a colorimeter. It is an internal checklist prepared by our team of accessibility engineers in QA InfoTech, which focuses on core parameters from Section 508 and WCAG standards. I will shed some light on this aspect of colorimeter in further slides. And when it comes to automated or automation tools, we have Axe and Wave. Also, our Selenium framework based on Axe and HTML code sniffer works similarly. It enables the functional engineer to take on accessibility basics and can check at any point of time while performing the functional test. Then we have Accessibility Inspector on iOS and Accessibility Checker on Android devices, which highlights the accessibility violation by simply scanning one page at a time. Moving to the next slide. This is the testing approach that we follow at QA InfoTech. Our engineers who are involved in accessibility testing initiate the procedure by applying the automated tools with an aim to quickly get an idea about the defects at the code level. Subsequently, the engineers perform the testing with real users and real users who are non-sighted experts working in our organization to figure out the defects which are based to the screen reader users. Then there can be several defects which might occur due to the specific behavior of an application or the browser, but our experts are capable enough in finding the exact cause of respective defect. Once the defects are found, sighted engineers continue with the rest of the testing related to the keyboard, color contrast, browser zoom, and high contrast. Well, it is inevitable that the basis of our testing process is either WCAG or Section 508. And once the testing is completed, the engineers create a report having all the defects along with a VPAT report. And VPAT report is created if we are following Section 508 for that particular testing. Moving to the next slide, we'll discuss the web accessibility evaluation tools that are used for automated approach. When it comes to the testing the accessibility of a web product, we have a lot of tools out there that promises to reduce the efforts and furnish reliable results. And some of those popular tools are Cynthia Sage and Tenon. But then they are paid ones. On the other hand, there are few license-free tools as well, which offers quick accessibility testing of web pages, and those tools are like Wave and Axe. These tools are available either as plugins or browser add-ons to evaluate the web page for accessibility. We would definitely want to know how these tools work and where do they fall short, so as to assess the value that they can add in our accessibility testing process. So basically, Wave is an online tool which requires the web page URL as its input, and in return, it scans the web page for accessibility issues and displays the report. The drawback here is to Wave. The drawback of the Wave is only that it tests the pages that are static. To demonstrate its working, I have prepared a demo. The site that I have chosen for the demo is Outlook Mail, since it involves bypass authentication process. So I have already logged into my Outlook Mail account. Next thing that I will do here is I will copy this URL of my mailbox since it contains my user session. I will now paste this URL in the edit box provided on the Wave application, and then just click the Go button. Now, as we have navigated to the test result page, but what I see over here, that instead of providing me the results of inbox page, Wave is providing me the results of login page. This is because it does not support the bypass authentication. It's not just the Outlook mail. Even if you are testing a website with static page, then also there is a problem. Given a fact that website can vary from 100 to 200 pages or even more, giving URL as input for each of the page is not a good idea. It will take a lot of effort and time. But we have another tool, which is Axe, which is widely used among the tester community and manual engineers. Axe is present as an add-on to Firefox and Chrome, which on analyzing the certain web page fetches the detailed report of accessibility issues within the page on Console Inspector. I will provide you a demo for Axe as well. I will be again using the Outlook mail for the demo. Now, since the Axe tool works on the web page to analyze the issues, but there is no issue with the bypass authentication in the case of Axe. I will try to fetch the accessibility issues on the inbox page of my Outlook mailbox, which I failed to do with Axe, which I failed to do with Wave. To do that, I will just right click and open the Console Inspector and click on the Accessibility tab. Then I'll find an Analyze button there. I have to click on that button, and after analyzation is complete, I will be provided with the results. As you can see, the left side consists of the title of the issues, and on the right side, you can see the number of instances of that particular issue on that page. On clicking on any of the issue, it displays the complete description of that issue, as well as it highlights the affected element. This tool has proved to be a better solution for revealing accessibility issues. Having discussed the advantages of the tool, there are still some areas which have complexities in them. If we talk in terms of accessibility, although tools provide a convenient way to test an application for its accessibility, but again, working with each of them could be a tedious job, as they come up with their own limitation. And we have recently seen in the case of Wave that it cannot test the dynamic pages and is only specific to the static pages. So in order to avoid that, we have integrated the functioning of Axe tool in our existing automation framework. This will allow us to use its benefit in an automated manner. I will not go into much details of how it works. Rather, I will show you execution results. So here is the snippet of the execution report. The first thing that this report will notify me is the number of accessibility violations. And in our case, it is 10. Below is the complete description of the issue along with the number of occurrences. The first issue, which says that button must have discernible text, has one such occurrence, and only one instance has been reported, which we can see here, A. Then the second issue here is element must have sufficient color contrast, but there is more than one occurrence of such issue on the single page, and that can be observed at the subpoints of this particular issue. So this is how our integration of Axe tool into our Selenium framework works. If I talk about the pair testing approach, QA InfoTech has a team of highly skilled accessibility experts, including both cited and non-cited engineers. We have been following the pair testing approach to verify that an application is accessible, be it a web app, desktop app, mobile app, or a website. We work with the purpose of finding those critical defects that can only be distinguished when an assistive technology user begins to explore the features of the website or an application. In return, a sighted engineer strives to understand the challenges encountered by the real users in using that particular product. This approach reveals genuine results and actual user impact. Peer testing approach has proved to be a success and have been appreciated by almost all our clients. Moving to the next slide, as per our experience in the domain of accessibility, we have noticed that an automated tool is only capable of providing 20% of the total defects in an application. Whereas, if we perform the rest of the testing manually, we can definitely achieve 100% accessibility test coverage. Yes, that is possible. Nonetheless, it may happen that automated tool reveals more number of defects in few cases. It totally depends on the type of coding the developer has used. So for an effective accessibility result, or I must say the 100% result, automation testing with the help of tools or scripts should go in parallel with the manual effort, including the real user testing that we do in our peer testing approach here in QA InfoTech. So now comes the quality meter that I discussed at the time of discussing agenda. So quality meter is a tool which defines the accessibility compliance score of any application, be it a desktop or a web application, and is based on accessibility checks that have been performed on different available features. This tool has been derived based on the request from one of our prospective clients. So the client who asked us to do that wanted to know where actually their application stands from compliance perspective. That is, on a scale of 100, how much percent does the application stands compliant against the accessibility standards? The best thing about this quality meter is that it can be customized according to the nature of the application. And nature is whether the application is a desktop application, whether the application is web application or a website. The execution results can easily be mapped with the accessibility defects, be it the section 508 or WCAG 2.0 AA standards. It reveals an accessibility score of an application from compliance perspective. Alongside, it also provides a graphical representation, which is very much beneficial, so that all the available features as per the related severities can be displayed. Now comes the pros and cons of automated methodologies. So let's try to understand the pros and cons. Talking about the pros first. Accessibility testing using the automated tools is fast. Yes, we all know that because manual takes time. And as we get to a defect report, we can get a defect report using an automated tool in few seconds. Also the one-time investment in an efficient tool can be feasible for long run. If your organization purchases an automated accessibility tool and effectively discover the accessibility defects to reduce the manual effort, that is very much beneficial in terms of budget. However, an automated tool is not capable of uncovering all the scenario-related defects. So this leads us to the cons of automated testing. First, I'll talk about that the genuine and unexpected defects can be identified with manual testing. On the other hand, automated tools sometimes may present false positives. We'll discuss about these cons and pros in the further examples. So the second con which I have pointed out is an automated tool used for accessibility testing is not frequently updated. In return, compatibility issues may arise. And that is when the manual testing plays a vital role to satisfy our needs. Definitely, we can say that the pros of automation becomes the cons of manual accessibility and cons of automation becomes its pros. So I'm now moving to the examples to give you a better understanding of what I have described till now. And by these examples, you can better relate the pros and cons of each of the methodology. So the first example is JAWS using its intelligence while reading a checkbox. Well, we have faced this challenge multiple times, wherein JAWS, which is the most widely used screen reader, associates the visually present label with the form field, even when the form fields are unlabeled, which we can check by creating a list of form fields. Here in this screenshot, you can see that the checkboxes are unlabeled. These two checkboxes are unlabeled. When we created a list of checkboxes using JAWS by the command insert Control X. Whereas when we read it without creating the list using the quick navigation key, that is X for the checkboxes, it read it perfectly. So we can overcome this challenge by using an automated tool which provides more concrete results on labeling of a particular form field. Moving to the next example, that is use of color. Color should not be used as the only means of conveying information, indicating an action or prompting a response. Here in this example, you can see that user has been told that the required fields are marked in red color. This is a type of defect which an automated tool will not be able to capture, and manual interference is very much required. Otherwise, we can easily skip that issue. Coming to the next example, it says getting the human experience. Well, automated tools are great for identifying a broad range of accessibility issues, and we accept that. But they cannot provide a logical understanding of the user experience. Here in this screenshot, we have marked the prices information where you can see two prices for each entity. One is a crossed out and is the older price, and second one is the updated one or the discounted one. While performing manual check, we have observed that screen reader reads the price information correctly and notifies the user about the old and the new price, which is fine. However, automated tools have not reported this as an issue. So this type of issue can be skipped by an automated tool. So my last example would be compatibility and support. It is again an example which showcases the con of an automated tool. By this example, I will explain that the automated tool will not cover each and every type of disability, or in other words, they do not provide support for all the types of disabilities. Like in the screenshot, when I was testing the site for low vision users, I zoomed the browser to 200% as per the guideline and found that two important tabs that got disappeared. These two tabs got disappeared when I zoomed it to 200%. They are not in the 200% zoomed area. So in this case, the low vision user will not have access to these two important functionality or important line of business for a website. Hence, zoom in testing can only be performed by investing manual efforts. With this, I have covered all the examples and illustrating the importance of both manual and automated methodologies. So what are the key takeaways from this session? Rohan, over to you.
When collaboratively combining all the testing techniques, ranging from manual efforts, automated testing tools, and the most vital being the pair testing approach, it ensures us to achieve complete reliability, efficiency, and customer satisfaction. But on the contrary, I would like to reiterate the point that accessibility is an important aspect, and software organizations are becoming aware about incorporating the same. Being a visually impaired user myself, I have experienced that there are a number of websites and applications which are inaccessible. I am an extensive user of screen reading applications for all the platforms, and it's been a decade that I've been using the assistive technology. There was a time when all the applications were not accessible. But now, seeing the current scenario, the organizations, especially working in the development and the designing sector, are coming forward and collaborating with organizations such as QA InfoTech to understand the dynamics of accessibility. The landscape has certainly changed now. For instance, if I need to book an online ticket, I can certainly look out for an accessible platform and complete my task. Yes, of course, there are challenges for people in understanding the dynamics and the real challenges which are faced during the accessibility testing and the procedures. It could be the understanding the different assistive technologies. It could be the unable to understand the real behavior of the applications, etc. Also, there are companies who may not be able to invest to certain level because of the budget constraints. But I would like to thank those organizations who are really considering the fact that disabled people are also equally important and they are a part of this society. In today's world, there are a billion people who are in the world who are living with some or the other disability, are unable to equally access the features of our mobile applications or a website. Hence, it is important to ensure that these restrictions can be removed out. Going further, we would be definitely be coming up with an article about how accessibility can also be counted as a cup of tea for everyone. This could be published in the near future, and we will definitely inform you about the same. In the end, I would just like to thank each one of you for attending this webinar session and understanding the challenges faced by people with different disabilities. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ajay and Rohan. I believe this was very informative and must have given some food for thought to our audience. We'll now start with the Q&A phase to answer the questions received from our audience. So we see that we have received lots of questions. So the first question is, how to benchmark on each build for accessibility testing point of view in consecutive sprints?
Well, for this, I would say that whenever a new build is deployed, there should be some defined set of test cases, or you can say major workflows of the application wherein accessibility checks should be performed in order to make sure that fixing or the implementation has been resulted in the breakdown of any of the existing functionality. And we are only talking about the accessibility perspective. This could be done by executing a simple smoke test for the entire application or essentially the major workflows. Besides, a complete accessibility check should certainly be performed on the new features that have been implemented in that particular sprint.
So thank you, Ajay. So the next question is there any tool which can fetch violation related to focus?
Violation related to focus. Exactly, you are right that this is a limitation of a X tool or a wave tool or any other automated tool. They only provide the results on a HTML level, and all the logic related issues or all the issues which are, where the visual aspect is important needs human intervention.
Thank you, Ajay. Next question is, so someone's asking if anyone is using X tool in the project, but the limitation of this tool is that they are not able to fetch violation related to focus.
Well, I guess this is the same question that you have just asked. So my answer will remain same, that X tool is only related to the HTML level, and any issue that is related to a visual aspect or any logical or scenario related issue, then we have to perform a manual check. There's no tool for that.
Thank you, Ajay. The next question is, what is the significance of the VPAT report?
Well, that's a very important and very good question. As businesses consider the accessibility of electronic and information technology products before purchasing, they are faced with the challenges. How can this reasonably assess whether a product is accessible? So one step worth taking in this is to identify whether the producer has voluntarily provided the information about the accessibility of that product or not. Many vendors have done so with a simple and standard web-based template, which is known as VPAT, or the Voluntary Product Accessibility Template.
Thank you, Ajay. The next question for you is, how to remove duplicacy of common components like headers, footers in ACTS, which will be common in all pages?
That's a great question, and I would say that this is a feature of ACTS tool, as is inspect the web page in one go and provides all the accessibility violation which exists on that particular page, and we are testing with X by page. So as per my view, it is not possible to remove the duplicacy in the results, as it performs the accessibility checks for each web element on every page wherever you will launch the ACTS tool. So we cannot remove the duplicacy there. We have to manually rectify the duplicacy.
Thank you, Ajay. The next question is, how is zooming testing performed?
Well, that's an interesting one. And zooming testing is, are of two types. One is the browser zoom, and second one is the text-only zoom. In the browser zoom, we zoom the complete browser to 200%, and 200% is the threshold value that is provided in the guideline, WCAG guideline. And in the second one, the text-only zoom, we have to zoom the font, the text of that particular web page to 200%, and then test the application. After zooming, we need to test if the content is usable or the horizontal scrolling is minimized. That is very important. Issue that we may find using the zoom-in testing are like truncation issues, disorientation of the web elements. We may also see overlapping of the content, and sometimes the content or element may disappear as well, as I have just showed you in the last example, wherein the two tasks were getting disappeared in the 200% zoom.
Well, I see lots of questions pouring in. Well, in the best interest of time, we'll only take 2 more questions. Your second last question is, how to get access to ACTS tool, and what is the cost of this tool?
Well, ACTS is a tool which is license free, and we can just go ahead and download it from the DQ website. DQ is the company that has launched this product, and it acts as an add-on to the browser, be it a Firefox browser or Chrome, and we can download it for free. And also, if you want to integrate the ACTS tool in the Selenium framework like we did, we have to download the ACTS API.
Well, thank you, Ajay. Time for the last question. So what if we only want to conduct accessibility testing using automated tools because of the budget constraints?
Well, accessibility is yes. If you perform the accessibility testing later in the stage of you have launched the product, it will cost you some bucks. So accessibility related defects can be found with the help of automated tool, but it may not be possible to distinguish the defects pertaining with the real users. When a real user would explore an application using an assistive tool like a screen reader, then only one can get to know whether the defects are preventing in accessing a particular application or not. In fact, a real user can only think of various scenarios or discover the defects which are hard to identify using an automated tool like X or Wave. Therefore, it is vital to incorporate both the testing techniques to obtain 100% test coverage and claim that the application is fully compliant to the accessibility standards.
Thank you, Rohan and Ajay, for responding to the questions with such thoughtful answers. Personally, for a regular sighted user, a screen reader like me, it is extremely welcoming to see that accessibility today has gotten much of its deserved attention. It is rather amusing to see how digital solutions are becoming increasingly accessible today. As an organization, we are seeing an increased pipeline in terms of sales requests and clients reaching out to us for accessibility testing, whether it is governmental mandate, standards, or just being able to sell solutions to organizations that are strict on compliances or a focus on end users for very different reasons that organizations connect with, very different reasons that resonate with them. Accessibility today is a lot more in acceptance today than in the past years. It is certainly a welcoming trend. That said, several organizations are still struggling to get into the fold of accessibility due to constraints such as budget, lack of skills, resources, time, being really overwhelmed as to where to get started in the whole process. Can accessibility be re-engineered into the whole thing? Well, in order to cater to such concerns, we in fact recently wrote an article on this, which is going to be published in Sticky Minds. It is a leading publication in the United States as part of software quality engineering. Our article will be out on August 21st, later this month. We will share the link with you also very soon, which talks about how accessibility can be made everyone's cup of tea. It can be re-engineered into the entire process, although it's a fully mature product that you have in the market as of today. So keeping all of these in mind, the goal of this webinar was to tell you that accessibility is totally feasible through the combination and a right balance of manual and automated techniques. And once you have figured that out, once you strategize, it's a matter of just implementation. Here again, if you need any assistance with the implementation, we'll be happy to have conversation with you. But hopefully, this presentation has given you enough thoughts, enough avenues to go explore and get started on a balanced strategy towards accessibility. Thank you very much for joining us in this web event and spending your valuable time with us. We hope you found it useful and informative. I would also like to thank Ajay and Rohan for sharing their thoughts and putting out their experience in the field of accessibility through this webinar. Please note, if there are still any questions you would like to discuss, feel free to write back to us and we'll get back to you at the earliest. You will soon receive a short survey about today's web event, and we would really appreciate if you could please take a few minutes to provide your valuable feedback. Thank you once again. You may log off at this time. Have a nice day.